you are wondering how in the world do you measure like what's working on Instagram? What should I do more of? How often should I post? What do the algorithms care about? And like what's going on with all the changes? And this is the video for you. So you're going to want to make sure that you save this. You go back and you may have to slow it down a little bit because we're going to show some data and some analytics that you can't see through traditional. Even I run a social media marketing agency where even our reporting with what we have access to is limited compared to what you have access to as the person who can manually log in to your account. And a lot of times I hear people on discovery calls tell me when I ask them, like, why do you want to be on social? What is the real goal in a perfect world? And they're like, I want more business. And sometimes that translates to, I want more followers or I want more engagement. And when I press down and I go deeper with them, what they really mean is I want more closings, I want more money, and I want to know that with spending all this time, energy, effort, and creating content, that there's going to be a payoff. Like I'm not just creating content with no motive at all. There is somewhat of a business motive where they would like for it to either help with conversion or build trust. And even better if they could get like direct leads off of it. So that's what we're going to dive in today is how do we go beyond just the vanity metrics and how can you, for those who want to get better, what does that mean? And you have to first start with who are you creating content for? Who are we trying to get seen by? And what are the things that you're trying to get them to do that then measures if it's working or not based off your measurements? I never want to assume that everyone has the same goal. I have a lot of clients who they are more relationship based and referral driven. So their social media is more just to control the narrative of the social proof or evidence from when people are referred to them. So they're trying to increase conversion and trust by the moment someone goes to look them up and you look at their feed, what is it that you want those people to feel and think about you, which you can control by what you put out on social. That's the only narrative for them to believe. And based off those beliefs, will that person now contact you? So again, sometimes those people, in fact, most of the time, they don't ever hit like, comment, or follow because they're just going there for the evidence of a referral that they were given where they trust, but they're definitely going to verify. Because nowadays, because of the evolution of just online reviews, and I really think with where we're headed with AI, we're going to see more distrust, which is why people research very heavily, sometimes 2 years before they're even ready to buy a home, which is important to also know from context is where are you meeting people during the buyer's journey? I think a lot of times we assume that they land on our page when they're ready, when they may be like 2 years out, but people are going to trust and verify. And they still care about your approval of them. So that's why they don't typically hit follow, or they're just going there to feel safe about their decision that when they contact you on a lead form, it's still going to say their referral agent is who referred them. But that moment of influence is what they saw and the story that they created based off what you allowed them to see to be true about you. Now, the metric we can track is profile visits. We can track profile visits per month. We can track external link taps per month. Those are the things that I think are more important and are more revealing of which of your content is actually working. And are you getting the engagement that you are wanting based off the content type? And how does the content type impact engagement? So to dumb this all down or water it down per Instagram. So we were talking more about you, what you want, your goals, who you want to serve. Now let's talk about Instagram's goals, what they care about. First and foremost is watch time. No matter what, no matter the two different types of rankings that they have, at the end of the day, most important is watch time or time spent on the app because that's how they make money. They can sell ads and they want people on their platform for as long as possible. So they feel like it is their job to make sure that we are feeding content to people that they want to see. So I mentioned there's two ranking types. Adam, who runs Instagram, just recently announced and clarified this, that there's two ranking types based off connected accounts, which means followers, and unconnected accounts, which are non-followers. So there's two different levels of responsibility based off those. Obviously, those who are connected to you, the platform feels like they have a little bit greater of a responsibility to make sure that we're honoring and sending them the content that if they chose to follow you, that it's based off of the content that they would likely want to see and therefore stay on the platform longer, or it's through interactions between the relationship. And I'll get to that in just a minute. So what matters more from an engagement metric on those who are connected to you, believe it or not, are likes per reach, not comments, it's likes. Because more people are willing to hit like if they actually like the content. It takes a little bit more effort for them to comment. So that's why there's more data and science for them when they measure likes per reach on your followers. Now, this may mean you may not have the right followers, which we'll get to. The next one is for your unconnected accounts. So your non-followers, what they care more about are your shares per reach. Shares obviously matter more than likes to them because if they're a non-follower, you don't have trust established. So anyone who's not already following you is going to be a little bit less likely to maybe like or comment because there is no relationship yet. But if they are sharing your content, maybe sharing it to their story, they're sharing it in the DMs because they found it beneficial for somebody else, then Instagram feels that will cause whoever they shared the content with, then that person will get back on the platform. And so it just feeds the beast of keeping people on the platform. So if you're trying to get to more non-followers, then you need to be posting more reels that are share worthy. So storytelling, things that plant seeds or things that are informative that maybe drop subtle hints. If you have a college kid who or a high schooler who graduates this year and is going to college, share this post with them. So we do need to make sure that we have one call to action and it's very clear of the action we want people to take while also planting seeds. But non-follower growth will come from reels and carousel posts and just have a certain focus or maybe call to action that encourages the share. Your followers then need to be nurtured. So whoever the content is in your ideal audience that you're creating content for, you need to do like a quick audit. Are those the type of people following you? Because if you converted an old, maybe personal account that you had in college days and you just made it to your mortgage professional account, chances are you have a lot of people who could be following you that are hurting your connected reach because they really have no value or interest or maybe live in the same area as you for them to like or interact with your content. So who you follow matters, guys. These are the like invisible things that when you start to compare yourself to other accounts and wonder, why is it working for them and not for me? Or the next course you buy that's like, here's the perfect script to go viral. But you have to understand all these other factors, just like with interest rates, right? There's so many variables tied to rates. Not everyone gets the same rate. Same thing here. Like, how long have you had your account? Who are you following and who's following you? Because that could be hurting you. The other items that I care more about, so those are the two main ranking categories for Instagram. Those are the metrics that they care most about, obviously with watch time being number one, but then likes for your followers, shares for your non-followers, and then don't forget the other variables that we talked about that are hidden in your insights, which I will show you how to get to, are the profile visits. Like how many people who actually see your content then go to your profile. And then when they go to your profile, what do they do? Do they interact? Do they follow? Do they engage? So I had a coaching call earlier this week that someone was really proud of their views, like how many views they were getting. And I was like, what do the views mean to you? Because at the end of the day, when we looked at his insights, I was like, but you're not getting the profile visits from those views. You're not getting shares. You're not getting engagement. You're not getting any external link taps. Should we really be celebrating all those views? Same with followers. There's times that people get really obsessed with their follower growth. I don't know what just happened there with the blur, but sometimes people get really obsessed with their following that I'm like, but what do those followers mean? If they're not engaging with your content, they're not sharing the content, they're not registering or clicking on the link in bio, like followers don't mean revenue. So at the end of the day, I want to create a systematic workflow and process that's easy to create content that attracts the right types of clients, that repels the wrong types of clients, so that we can optimize our time and our revenue for our strategy. So I'm going to dive in. You are going to need to either hit pause, and we're going to do some math. So if you're driving, you may have to pull over and jot some of these things down. I'm going to try to go fast, but you do need to open up your Instagram and go to your profile home feed where it shows your profile picture in the top left. And hopefully you have a business account. If you don't have on the account type, so I don't mean what you use the platform for, but I mean like the account type, whether it's personal and it's set to private, or if it's a business professional, this will only work on a professional account. And it's important that you now have a professional account moving forward so that you can start tracking these numbers to see how your content is performing beyond what even we can see. So the first thing that we're going to calculate is how many people that see your content then decide to follow you. So if they're on the Explore page or someone sends them your content, typically the funnel is they then click on your name and they go to your profile and they then decide whether or not they're going to interact or follow. So that's what we're trying to measure, is that conversion. How good is your first impression? Your profile kind of digital storefront. The only way to measure that is to look at the data. So you're going to go to your Instagram and you're going to click on these 3 hamburger lines at the top. Again, you should be on your home feed and you'll see these 3 hamburger lines. You're going to scroll down to where it says Insights. Now, depending on if you have a creator account or a business professional account, it may be in a different section, but you're going to go to Insights. And I want you to make sure you change where it says last 7 days, hit the drop down and change it to last 30 days and then hit update. This dashboard, by the way, this overview should be your best friend. Now, don't obsess over it. And I always say last 30 days. That way we give it enough time, because you don't want to make too quick of decisions, maybe based off emotion, when you haven't given your content time to be seasoned. And there's been so many darn updates that it can really impact the performance, or what could feel like your performance. So you're going to go to last 30 days and you're going to click update. Now, remember I said these are the 2 numbers that you need. You need followers gained in the last 30 days. That'll be the numerator, divided by total profile visits. So here's how you find that. You're going to go to total followers. Remember, you should now be seeing that it's the last 30 days. So you're going to click here and you're going to look at how many new follows did you get in 30 days? And you're going to put that number in the numerator. Then you're going to go back to your dashboard. And now we're going to go to views, which is here. And you're going to go to profile visits. You have to scroll all the way down. Once you click on views, you scroll all the way down, which there's lots of good nuggets there. But for this video, I want you to go to profile visits. These are how many people actually went to your profile in the last 30 days. So now you're going to work out the math equation. Do your followers. So for my example, it'd be 224 divided by my 717, multiply by 100 to get the percent. Now, what does this metric tell you? How do you know if you're an A, B, or C student? Here's your benchmarks. Anything under 10% is considered low. That means there's something going on with your profile from a first impression, or it could be the content that you're creating that may be the bait that like gets people to bite. But then when they get to the storefront and they go to your profile, it's like, wait a minute, I feel bait and switched. Like this piece of content doesn't seem to match the rest of the content that they have on their feed, which is why I do think you need to be careful on jumping on trends. Like even the really baity hooks that were like, these are the 3 big lies that banks don't want to tell you. And so people click and then they realize there's really no meat, or it's like very obvious items in the rest of your video. That's not a good look for you. Same thing with those really funny, like it could be someone rolling down a hill and then the video cuts and it's you getting up. Like those are great visual hooks or audio hooks that gets people in, but then are they falling out? And that's where, again, watch time, guys. Remember, watch time is number 1. But you don't want to bait and switch and get people to the front door all to then find out like, oh, it's not a sushi restaurant. Like they advertised for sushi and it's a hamburger place. Like that can actually do more damage to the brand. So depending on where you fall in the benchmark, the question I want you to ask is, why aren't more people choosing to follow you once they see your content? Is it a content problem or is it a first impression problem from your profile? So again, these are the benchmarks here. Now, a couple things which I did make a post on this, and I will let you review this at your own time, or just make sure you're following me on Instagram, plugandplay_SM. I would also set up the notification for any new post. That way you get notified. But this was one that I recently made. And this could be like audit your profile or your digital storefront to see, is this why you're not getting the conversion from those who see your content, but they're just not taking action from there. Also, I can't express enough how important having, I use Linktree, but a link in bio, guys, you guys absolutely need to have this because it's one of the measurables that determines what's working. So if you want to get better at social, you really want to develop your brand and you want to know what's working, we've got to be maximizing what's available to us. So number 2, how many people who actually see your content then engage with it? So this is a little bit different than how many who see your content then go to your profile. Now we're talking about how many who see your content either or engage. So here are the 2 numbers that you need. You need total reach in the last 30 days. So again, by default, it may go back to 7 days here. So make sure you're updating this to last 30. But this is the new formula. We're going to look at engagement divided by reach. So for engagement, you go to interactions and then you go to accounts engaged. Now, it's always interesting to see how many engagements you get from followers versus non-followers. Remember how I said typically we get more engagement from followers? That's because that's content that there's a little bit of trust already established, so they feel safe. But I am also doing a 90-day sprint where I'm not doing any reels of my face because I was testing reels versus carousel posts and what gets more traction from non-followers. So even if you guys have been wondering why I haven't been doing a whole lot of reels, that's why. So I'm not surprised why this is down because I haven't created a lot of content types, AKA the reels, to get to non-followers. But this will also tell you, maybe you don't post any reels, where are you getting more of your traction from? Like if you're getting more non-follower interaction from regular posts, I would guess that you're doing more carousel posts. But again, that's where then we could look at account type and go deeper. So now that we have accounts engaged, we're going to go back to our dashboard. We're going to go to views, and I want you to then put accounts reached on the denominator and now find your new percentage. Again, this formula is telling us how many people who see our content, because that's important. A lot of times people will say, I want more engagement. And I'm like, what does that mean to you exactly? Like we have to first know how many people are even seeing your content and then engaging with it. That's what's, because is it a reach problem or an engagement problem or an account content type problem? I have found that most people, it's not always a marketing problem, it's a strategy problem. And that's what this reveals. So let's look at the benchmarks. Hopefully we've all found the percent. Again, if you're struggling with the calculation, it's just engagement divided by reach. Anything under 5% is considered low. Anything between 5 and 15 is about middle. And then anything 15% and higher is high. Now, even though you may think you have great content, you are not entitled to engagement. People don't owe us that. You have to earn that by either creating very emotionally captivating and connecting pieces of content that are share worthy or save worthy or like worthy. And then you also need to review what type of content am I creating for that ideal audience that I'm hoping will follow me. Is it really made for them? And do you have those people following you? Again, this is where who following you matters. If you were some of the people who bought followers back in the day, you may need to schedule a strategy call with me. We may need to dive deeper on what your next best steps are, because if people aren't engaging and you're not really building that community or that tribe, then we need to dial in on the content and messaging from all features on the platform. So the last one is how many of my followers are actually seeing my content? And so for this, you will need to go to follower accounts reach. This is kind of a 2-step equation. It's not the most loved by people, but it's important to know like how many people are actually seeing, is this worth your time and energy? And again, I know the focus here is on followers because we're really trying to deepen brand. Like that is, you want loyal followers, you want a loyal community, where I would rather you have less of the right people following you than just a lot of the wrong people. But we've got to interact with them. We've got to do lives. We have to show up on our stories. Just so you know, the people who see your stories are like your super fans. Like they're like your top I don't say top performers, but they're the ones with the most trust and the ones who would most likely want to interact with your content. And that's why there's not really a whole lot of, it's not a huge strategy with the stories, other than if you're just making it too promotional over and over and over, then that's going to cause people to not want to see your stories. Usually they're wanting to go deeper with you. They want to connect. They want the behind the scenes. Okay. That's what I mean by I'd rather you have fewer followers. Like I actually will remove followers if they're not of the right audience because it's only hurting my data. So you're going to go to follower accounts reached. So to do this, you're going to go to views. You're going to go to accounts reached, but you have to calculate based off your followers. How many? So what is 66.7% in my case of the 5710? This is how many accounts were reached of people who were following me. Now, I have no ad spend right now. So this is where ad spend typically goes to non-followers, or if you're someone who's doing a lot of the trial reels are a great way to determine would non-followers like this reel or not. I think people could be posting their old reels and doing it on trial reels. But for this, we just want to know how many of our, for brand performance, like in brand loyalty, how many of our followers are actually seeing our content, which then also gives us insight to our brand messaging and positioning. Are we making it clear to the algorithms of why they would want to see this content or why it's for them? Or has my content strategy gotten so hot mess express where they now have no idea who my target audience is? And then you're going to divide it by total followers. So that's on your main feed. You're going to look at total followers. Again, this is in the last 30 days. So again, this tells us our reach rate. So our brand strength, like how congruent is our messaging with our followers? Are we creating content that they want to see and will share? So anything under 20% is considered low. Anything between 20 and 50% is middle. And then anything above 50% would be considered high. So again, just some solutions here are, do you have the right followers? This is why we always start with, who are you making the darn content for? Are there known problems? What are their unknown problems? What challenges are going on in their world? Are they time poor? Are they just starting a career? Are they transitioning from a bad breakup? Do they have a new birth? Who is your ideal audience? What are we doing all of this for? And then are you sharing enough stories on your story post? Or are you just relying on feed post? Are you doing any lives? Do you do any interaction yourself? So Adam with Instagram also said that they want more creativity, which is why they're coming out with their edits app, which is going to be like a creative suite, not just a video editor, but really to give creators more tools to use AI and be more creative with original content. So originality is really important, but also the connection. Like they don't want the narrative of social that is, it's bad for your mental health. People just consume for hours. They want it to be interactive and connective and an experience. When they say those kinds of announcements, it's like, are you doing the very activities of what they've told us that they're going to reward? Not that we should only do things for the algorithms, because you guys know I don't believe in that. But if you are really trying to grow a brand and you want your brand to be worthy of making a remark about, to be remarkable, then this is some of the ways that you can measure its performance. Last and not least, we cannot forget the importance of, drumroll please, how many emails are you adding to your database? Meaning, what is the content funnel? Do you have a strategy? Are you posting content that's ideal for your audience, but then what is the next step for them? And remember, social is just rented attention. You do not own it. They could shut Meta down. And for some of you, y'all wouldn't have any of that contact information in a CRM. Now, I have people who have lead magnets and free downloads and ways for people to RSVP, and they add it to a database that they then have no strategy for. What do you do with those emails? What is the nurturing sequence and campaign based off what they RSVP for? This is what I mean by it's usually not a marketing problem, it's a strategy problem. How many external link taps are you getting per month? And then what is the content funnel? How are we getting people from attraction to engagement to enough trust where then we convert and they refer us? And then how many collaboration posts are you making? So I won't go into this, although I did post it on my platform. So on Plug and Play SM, this is the content funnel that we talked about just from an attraction. Like if we started with attract, there's people who are aware of their problem. There's people who are unaware. There's people who know the solution and who don't know the solution. Like sometimes they were referred to you, and so they're just coming to see if you're the real deal or not. And that's why we have top of funnel strategies from an awareness standpoint, all the way down to bottom of funnel. And this is what I mean by the content strategy and funnel beyond just posting. And this is where I think, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like we really are more than just a social media content company. Yes, that's what you pay us to do, is to create content, and whether we're posting it for you or sending it to you, but it's so much more than that, because we really want you to win. And I do know that this can rob a lot of you of your time, your mental energy. You can beat yourself up. And it's at the end of the day, what are we doing all of this for? And why would you not be working with a strategist to help you connect the dots of how you go from platform to email, to then the strategy in your email, to then maybe webinars or lead magnet? It's like, why would you do all that without a strategy? So you guys know where to find me. If you need a strategy call, you can go directly to the website and schedule an hour strategy session. I do charge for those because it is my time. That's not a discovery call. So make sure you're scheduling the right one. And we have people that's like, I literally meet with CMOs and we just discuss strategy for their company. So be selfish, choose to reach out. If you need the help, I ain't hard to find. You'll have a great weekend.